The first round of the NBA playoffs is in the books at hihimayin natin yan dito sa isa na namang panibagong episode ng Pinoy Step Podcast.
From buzzer beaters to blockbuster trades, this is your front row seat to the NBA.
Here at Pinoy Step Podcast, we go deep into every play, every move, and the insider stories you won't hear anywhere else.
All the highlights, all the hot takes, walang mintis. This is the Pinoy Step Podcast, powered by the Arena Plus Sportsbook. Sama-sama sa arena.
Episode 7 of the Pinoy Step Podcast. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga patuloy na nakikinig at nanunood sa ating programa. My name is Anton Rojas and as I said, tapos na po ang first round ng NBA playoffs and we will delve deeper into what has become one of the most exciting playoffs in recent memory. And of course, riding shotgun with me on the show today, Migs Gomez. Brother.
Hey Anton, glad to be here again. Wala nang Lakers, sorry Coach Christian.
Oh my God!
We have a lot to break down. Ako mismo medyo emotional ako coming into this episode, so I'm very excited.
Shots fired to begin the show, Coach Christian. Man, where are you when we need you? But you said emotional. Bakit?
It's really more of Coach Greg Popovich. I'm a Spurs
Oo.
fan, as you know, but later on we'll deal with that even further.
All right, let's get to our fast break. The fast break is where we talk about the latest headlines in the NBA at maraming naganap nung nakaraang linggo. Kaya naman pag-uusapan natin yan ngayon. Starting off with LeBron James. Hindi ko napansin kung saan nangyari yung injury but it was reported that he had a grade 2 MCL sprain on his left knee. Ngayon, nung pinapanood ko yung mga replays, yung mga videos, napansin ko meron siyang itim na leg sleeve. So, Migs, there must have been an existing problem already sa tuhod ni LeBron.
Well, I'm not surprised because he is 40 years old. So yung mga ganitong classic injury, it happens. Especially that you're deep in the season. Even Coach Christian told me once upon a time na nobody's ever at 100% anymore when you're already in the playoffs. So, considering that, yes, he's 40 years old and he has so much already, on his knees. Sige na, parang hindi na dapat surprise sa atin to. And how does it matter to us right now? Because the Lakers are out of the playoffs.
Alam mo yung sinabi mong yan na galing kay Christian na nobody's ever healthy 100% in the playoffs. Naisip ko si MPJ, Michael Porter Jr. Yung balikat niya nakabalot balot na balot. Parang he looks like the mummy with all that tape on his shoulder. But going back to King James, sabi mo nga 40 years old at ngayon the conversation has shifted to, is he going to come back for year 23? Why is this even a question? Why is this even a topic? Pero of course, alam natin, babalik yan si LeBron. He knows how special the number 23 is to him and we expect to see him back. Ang tanong, anong gagawin ni Rob Pelinka? Is he going to get a rim protector? Is he going to get some wings and not Buffalo Wild Wings like Kendrick Perkins has been saying? Diba? LeBron James needs bodies to support him.
Well, we talked about this before. Sino ba talaga yung big man? Unang-una na makuha ng Lakers. I mentioned the name Walker Kessler. Could be in the mix. Nick Claxton actually is also among the conversations of NBA analysts out there. Mark Williams, yes, he was already the first to supposedly get into that rotation.
He's
of the
getting
Lakers.
a lot of shade right now, Migs.
Yeah, I mean, kasi wala pa masyado napapatunayan si Mark eh. Ang siguro argument na sa kanya is, hindi rin naglaro si Dalton Denick the first round versus the Timberwolves that much. So, Mark Williams could have been of some help for the Lakers. But that conversation continues. I actually have a very deep list of big men.
Wow!
Who can potentially be recruited by the Lakers.
So you have
next year.
Meron kang mga i-add to cart na big men.
So ganito na lang para mabilis tayo dito. I'll give you the list, rundown.
Sure.
And then tell me if there's anybody that pops up into your mind who could be interested.
Sige.
Okay, let's start. Nick Claxton, Walker Kessler, Mark Williams, Clint Capella, Al Horford, Kevon Looney, Steven Adams, Miles Turner, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Nas Reed, Andre Drummond, John Collins, DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams. Is there anybody who was interesting to you?
Lahat ba ng mga linista mo, may possibility na makuha ng Lakers?
Most of them are unrestricted free agents.
So yung Miles Turner ng Pacers.
Yes.
Kasi para sa akin, yun yung pinaka-batak eh.
Oo.
Na pwedeng effective may tira pa sa labas.
The only problem is his attachment to the Pacers. Especially
yun
with
nga
them winning right now.
Okay, so among the players that you listed, sino yung may, let's say, more than 50% chance of actually leaving his ball club and joining the Lakers?
Well,
Kasi
if you ask me,
to answer your question, yung Miles Turner yung pinaka-gusto ko sa listahan na yan.
he's undoubtedly the biggest talent there. But then again, yung realistic expectation natin of him actually transferring to the Lakers, medyo malabo yun. I've read some articles online saying that John Collins could be a good candidate if you still want to play fast.
Okay.
But you're gonna have to get rid of some contracts, which means you look at Rui Hachimura, you look at Gabe Vincent, Vanderbilt, Maxi Kleba, and possibly even Austin Reeves. You're gonna get rid of that guy. So siya na yung pinakamabilis if you ask me among those big men that we mentioned. But personally, I'm looking at a guy like Clint Capella here. Clint Capella, mataas man yung contract niya sa Atlanta, but maybe the Lakers can negotiate a lower contract with Clint Capella dahil din naman yung salary cap din naman ng Lakers. Let's face it, they don't have much room to wiggle with right now. So maybe with him who lost a bit of value in his latter years in Atlanta could actually work out with the Lakers.
I-comment nyo na lang guys kung sino sa tingin nyo ang pinaka magandang big na makuha ng Lakers. Yan, binigay na ni Migs yung mga options sa inyo. Okay, the next topic. And this was an emotional one
for me.
Especially for Migs Gomez. And I'm gonna let Migs get into his feelings a little bit. Greg Popovich steps down as the head coach, but moves into a higher office as the president of basketball operations, 5 NBA championships, 3-time NBA coach of the year, 29 years as a head coach in the NBA, 19 of those 29 seasons, more than 50 plus wins. Unbelievable career. One of the 15 greatest coaches of all time. Migs, why is this a big deal for you?
Alam na natin lahat yung accolades niya. Diba? We all know about the players that he has produced in the NBA. Legendary players. But I'm gonna speak for at least my experience playing basketball. For my generation, we grew up influenced by 3 NBA icons. The first one is Kobe Bryant. The Mamba mentality. Natuto kami na kailangan sa lahat ng gagawin, not just in basketball, kailangan all-in ka. Laser focused ka, you put in the work, maybe even more work compared to your competitors. And then, remember the time na when you would throw anything at the trash can.
Kobe!
You say Kobe, right? Ngayon, maybe it has translated onto Steph Curry. Kasi shooting din naman. So, yun yung sabihin mo pag nagtatapon ka ng whatever. So I'd say that that's the second influence, Stephen Curry, knowing how shooting has been different nowadays for the NBA. Kita naman natin, Boston Celtics. Diba? They broke the record for most threes in a season. And it all started with the 3-point shooting of Stephen Curry. Parang na-validate yung yung titira ka na malayo. Titira ka ng sobrang daming 3 points because Stephen Curry does it. And as Filipinos, hindi ganun katangkaran. Sa kanya tayo nakarelate eh. Diba? Kaya there's big influence from Steph to at least my generation. And the third is the most underrated. This is where I bring in Coach Greg Popovich. Because Kobe and Steph are both known for shooting. Kumbaga, you can be very individualistic with your approach in basketball. But the Spurs counter that. The Spurs basically gave us that impression that basketball can be beautiful when you're passing it. When you're passing the ball, when you're distributing it among your teammates. The 2014 San Antonio Spurs. I mean, that was just poetry in motion.
The last championship of Greg Popovich.
Greg Popovich. Anton, kapag naglalaro ka ng pick-up, kapag merong isang possession na ang ganda ng pasahan, and then eventually you make a basket, what do people say? Spurs basketball.
Spurs basketball.
That's what they say. And that's why I'm emotional about Coach Greg Popovich, because nagkaroon ako ng different perspective about basketball, and it is so beautiful because it's more inclusive with your teammates.
Kaya lang, sabihin ko lang, sobrang rare yung Spurs basketball na yan dahil maraming buhaya dito sa Pilipinas. Maraming wow. Okay? Tsaka ngayon, mas lumala dahil kay Steph, kakasabi mo lang, ang dami nang tumitira sa sobrang layo. Yung tipong pagtawid pa lang ng half-court line, babato na yung bola. Kaya sana, with Greg Popovich's accolades, lahat ng mga ginawa niya going viral right now, maalala ng mga Pilipino at mga basketball fanatics dyan na maganda ang basketball when you share the leather, di ba? When you share the rock. Kasi, basketball is a team sport, and at the end of the day, hindi yan pagalingan eh. Kumbaga, it's not the individual that's gonna win. It's the team that's going to win at the end of the day.
Well, Anton, I do have another thing to add about Coach Greg Popovich, because yes, you already mentioned the accolades, the number of championships he's won, and we all know about the players that he has produced. But there's one list that actually stood out to me, and that's the list of coaches that he was able to produce. Yun to me, yun yung pinaka-impressive dito. Kasi, I give you this list. Steve Kerr, we have Doc Rivers, Avery Johnson, Mike Budenholzer, Mike Brown, and Monty Williams. All of those were either players or assistants to Coach Greg Popovich, and they have all won their Coach of the Year awards. Might I say as well, Ime Udoka would be a part of this list, and it could happen anytime soon.
Ang galing nga no? Naglaban sa Game 7, Steve Kerr at Ime Udoka. You can see that Greg Popovich's imprint is all over the league. And let's not forget Becky Hammond.
Yes.
When nobody
first woman coach
gave her a chance, Greg Popovich gave her a chance. She's a champion WNBA head coach, and who knows, might become a future head coach in the NBA. And when that happens, Greg Popovich will be the person na ituturo ng tao. He was the one who paved the way.
So there you have it. I just hope na Spurs fans would not be discouraged. I'm a Spurs fan myself. Di ba? Next project na ni Popovich yung NBA. Tapos ngayon, mawawala siya. Pero at least, president pa rin siya.
Mas makaka-relax na siya ngayon. Pakape-kape na lang siya sa VIP box. Hindi na siya masistress. Na, alam mo naman si Pop may mga antics yan, di ba? Yung hinahaka shock, tapos double thumbs up. Yung biglang Team USA, nagja-jogging siya, hinahabol yung bola. We're going to miss those antics, but they will forever live in the internet, on the internet, and in the heart of Migs Gomez.
Yeah. Love you, Coach Pop. Stay strong, Spurs fans.
All right. Cavaliers, hindi naglaro si Darius Garland, left big toe injury, and he was clearly missed, Migs, in game number 1 against the Pacers.
Well, if you ask me about game number 1, ang masasabi ko dyan, dapat lang para sa Pacers. Kasi dehado sila coming into this series. I actually think that they're the lesser version of the Cavs.
Wow.
Because the Cavs are the number 1 offense all season long. The Pacers are known for their high-octane offense, but they're only number 9. Diba? We see them stepping up in the playoffs, but now you have a chance to make a statement against the Cavs. The Cavs are playing without one of their 3 All-Stars. Butas na agad yun. So if you're Tyrese Haliburton, if you're Andrew Nembhard, yan na yun. Ito na yung opportunity mo to steal home court, which they did. So sana makabalik si Darius Garland para makita talaga natin yung actual size up ng ating dalawang kapunan, no? But as long as he's out, if I'm the Pacers, I'm not wasting any time.
Darius Garland naman kasi, hiniritan mo pa si Tyler Hero. Yan, kinarma ka. Huwag mo nahiritan si Tyrese Haliburton ha. Kasi ngayon, medyo mainit si Tyrese Haliburton. Pinanis si Giannis, pinauwi ang Milwaukee. Ngayon naman, they steal game number 1 in the house of Cleveland. And we will talk more about that sa pagpapatuloy ng Pinoy Step Podcast. Pinoy Step Podcast is brought to you by Arena Plus Network, your ultimate fast break to NBA action. Stay updated with the latest takes by subscribing to the Arena Plus Network and Pinoy Step Podcast YouTube channel. Listen and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Your support is like a perfect assist. It helps keep the show going. Sama-sama sa Arena. Okay mga kababayan, gaya ng sinabi ko, tapos na ang first round ng NBA playoffs at ngayon, Mas umiinit na ang mga labanan. Nagsimula na ang second round dito sa bakbakan ng Cleveland Cavaliers at ng Indiana Pacers. Pacers take game number 1, 121-112. Migs Gomez, nasimulan na natin itong usapan na to. Darius Garland, hindi naglaro. Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard took full advantage of his absence.
It's crazy. It's crazy how we're seeing Andrew Nembhard really proving himself now. A bit more consistent. Even in the clutch, man. Crazy. Ang galing kasi nakita mo yung potential niya. And to me, that's gonna be another convincing factor that the Pacers could be real, man. They could be real. Especially if they defeat Cleveland. But if I can go back to Darius Garland, ang ibabato ko naman sa yung tanong. When Kyle Anderson said that the Cavs are better without Darius Garland, I want to know your reaction about that.
I think he's out of his mind. How? Darius Garland played 75 games, started all 75 games. He's the reason why Cleveland, well, not the main reason, okay, but he is the driver of that machine. And you know, he's an all-star, di ba? So, 2-time all-star yan, si Darius Garland. So, he's sneaky good. So I don't know what he was thinking, what he was talking about, and I think game 1 proved na nami-miss ng Cleveland itong si Darius Garland. And ito I'm gonna go out on a limb on this.
Okay.
Pag hindi bumalik si Darius Garland, hindi matatalo ng Cleveland itong Indiana, especially with the way. Hindi naman sweep.
Okay.
I think Cleveland can get 2 without Darius Garland. They can get you 2. Spider can get you 2. You know, he's a great player. He can get you 2. Remains to be seen if he can be the best player on a championship team. Usap-usapan natin yan dito sa Pinoy Step Podcast. Pero
he can get you 2.
He can get you 2 Pero kailangan buo Kasi yung Pacers, buo pare. Tsaka yung kumpiyansa nila ngayon, nasa cloud 9 Pinauwi nila si Greek Freak Diba? So, at wala nang nanggugulong tatay. Diba? Si John Halliburton, banned indefinitely. Diba? Wala nang mag-wave ng tuwalya sa star player ng kalaban. So, nakafocus ngayon ang Pacers.
Ang sakit dun Ang sakit ng pagkatalo ng Bucks Grabe yun
Actually, masakit talaga.
Diba?
That hurt me, especially with Damian Lillard Achilles. Diba? So, parang... man, we'll talk about that in another day. Pero going back, Migs.
Okay, so I wanted to bring that up because ako mismo nagtanong ako nagtaka ako. Bakit nasabi ni Kyle Anderson yun? So I looked for some articles out there, some statistics, and I actually found a good reason.
Okay.
As to why Kyle Anderson was able to say that. Pero ano lang to, it's just to find the reason.
Sige.
So, Darius Garland did not play as much in round number 1, right? Versus Miami. But when he played, challenge talaga ng Miami yung defense niya as a primary defender. And Miami actually shot 12 out of 18 versus Garland as a primary defender. That's 67% efficiency. Mataas yun. So, point Kyle Anderson yun. Diba? But again, these are just numbers to possibly, justify, at least make you understand why Anderson said those things. Number 2, yung defensive rating ng Cleveland with Darius Garland, they were allowing 120 points. Yun yung ano nila, yung rating per 100 possessions yun, 120. Pero nung wala si Garland, bumaba sa 93 yun. Which means their defense was so much better nung nawala na si Garland in round number 1 versus Miami. So that's another point to Kyle Anderson. The only counter that I have is actually, I had this, I read this statement from Coach Kenny Atkinson that there was actually a team adjustment defensively since Darius Garland got injured. And their scheme was able to limit Miami. Kaya naging 93 na lang yung rating ng Miami offensively against the defense of Cleveland from the previous 120. So, yun, kung meron man sa inyo na mas makakaintindi kay Kyle Anderson, be empathetic to him, then okay, those are maybe the arguments that you can present. But if you ask me, I am in line with Anton because I bring back the Steph Curry argument. Remember the time when they still had Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala?
Yep.
The argument back then was the Warriors were better with Steph Curry on the bench because defensively, they were able to switch. With Livingston, with Iggy, with Draymond, with Clay, with Harrison Barnes. Yun eh. Ang dali mag-switch dun sa limang yun. Steph Curry became a liability. But man, offensively, yung magigain mo naman kasi with him being the engine of that offense, it's somewhat similar to Darius Garland being that important offensively to the number one offense of the NBA right now for Cleveland.
Just to end this discussion, sasabihin ko na lang, kasi sigurado ako, ganito rin yung nararamdaman ng karamihan sa mga Pinoy na nakikinig ngayon at nanunood. Kyle Anderson, sino ka? Okay? At isa pa, sino ba ang pumalit kay Darius Garland? Sam Merrill, isa pang sino ka? Diba? Okay, siya yung nag-start nung nawala si Darius Garland. Diba? So, well, I don't want to throw too much shade on this guy, Sam Merrill, because he made it to the NBA. Siyempre, lahat naman ng mga player na nakapasok sa NBA, may laro yan, marunong mag-basketball.
And he's a champion.
And he's a champion.
Yeah,
diba? Last pick of the 2020 NBA draft, I had to look him up. And he was part of that Milwaukee Bucks championship team in 2020. Okay, so, just being around those guys, sina Giannis, sina Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, diba? So he knows what it takes to win. He was part of that winning culture and he's trying to impart his wisdom now to the Cavs. That's probably why he's starting. But I really feel na kailangan mo yung starting point guard mo who was with you for 75 games, started 75 games. Bottom line is you need to have the full roster para umabante dito, deep in the playoffs. All right, let's move on to the next series. Eto, ipi-preview na namin ni Migs Gomez yung mga iba pang mga series dito sa NBA playoffs. Eto, I wonder what topics we're going to have with regards to this series right here. Boston.
Yeah, man.
And New York. Kasi we're all in agreement na Boston is gonna come out of the East. Pero ang tanong dito, I'm gonna stand on business as well. Pero ang tanong ko dito, gaano kabigat itong challenge na kinakaharap nila ngayon, New York, because New York built their roster to beat Boston, diba?
Yeah. So I'm gonna apply the same argument from the Pacers and Cavs to the Knicks and the Celtics. I also think the Knicks are the lesser version of the Boston Celtics. They play 4 out, 5 out. Diba? Kasi yung bigs nila, shooting bigs eh. Porzingis and Karl Anthony Towns eh. So you can see all of them by the 3-point area. I think it's gonna be interesting in a sense na we have stars in the units. Diba? Parang ang ganda ng narrative eh. Nung Brunson against Tatum, and then you have Derek White there to try to defend him. Jaylen Brown, of course, tried to defend him. Then you have Mikal Bridges, who was a star before with the Nets. You have OG Anunoby, the X Factor, I think, for the New York Knicks. We talked about that first time that we were here together. Karl Anthony Towns is an all-star. Porzingis comes alive from time to time. So, yung superstar factor, crowded talaga sa series na to. It's just that, would you really put the unit of New York above the Celtics right now? Kasi, if you ask me, all-star team din talaga tong 5 ng Celtics na to eh. Yan 5 yan, ang taas nga ng rating nila lahat sa 2K eh. And then you have the 6th man of the year behind them in Peyton Pritchard. Tapos may Al Horford ka pa, who's so timeless with the way he plays. Ikaw ba, is there anything that you see that would be advantageous for New York?
Yes. Karl Anthony Towns. Okay. If he plays big. Kasi yung kahan ni Karl Anthony Towns, kung ikumpara mo sa mga bigs ng Boston, walang makakatapat dyan. Ang problema, naglalaro siya sa labas eh. Pero kung baguhin niya yung mindset niya and they apply what Ime Udoka was doing against the Warriors, yung pinipilit niya yung too big, feeling ko gagana against Boston eh. Boston ain't that big when you think about it. Kasi Porzingis, hindi naman siya masyadong batak. He's tall and slim. So, pagdating sa banggaan sa ilalim, liyamado si Karl Anthony Towns. But, he has to change his game. Meron siyang Mitchell Robinson na rest back eh. So, I'd like to see Tom Thibodeau incorporate or experiment on the too big to see kung gagana. Because I think usap-usapan yan ngayon sa playoffs eh. Kasi we're living in the time that small ball is effective. Small ball can win championships. But bumabalik na rin tayo sa strategy na may dalawang big. So we're seeing it's effective. I mean, nobody could stop freaking Rudy Gobert. Diba? Lake pinipilit
he proved this wrong, man.
JJ Redick, Mr. I know everything about basketball. Pinilit niya yung small ball niya. Ayan, chugi yung Lakers. Diba? Nobody could stop Rudy Gobert. So that's what I feel Karl Anthony Towns can do in this series if he decides to play his size. Because he is really a big cat. Diba? Pero alam mo, Migs, sa lahat ng mga matchups natin dito sa second round, para sa akin, ito yung pinaka-exciting. And if there is, I just have this feeling that if there is a series here that can go 7 games, this might be it. Ako feeling ko, it's not that lopsided as many people are saying, pare. Yun yung nafe-feel ko ngayon.
Ako, nafe-feel ko that it's exciting in a sense that it's superstar driven. Parang for me, andito yung box office eh. But I just don't see the Knicks winning so many games against the Celtics.
Okay.
You mentioned the big combination for the Knicks. To me, that might actually be an adjustment due to personnel because Drew Holiday is out right now, which means that Al Horford is starting for the Celtics. So they're playing 2 bigs. The Celtics have 2 bigs in their lineup plus Brown, Tatum, and Derek White. So does that actually present a disadvantage to New York that would make them put Mitchell Robinson in the starting unit? I don't think they're gonna do it. Kasi sino rin ba ang tatanggalin mo sa 5 nila? I mean, that 5 is just so potent. It's hard to just break them apart, put one at the bench. So I think that remains to be just an interesting thought. But now I'm gonna put in a different perspective. There's actually some sense of urgency into the Boston Celtics in the playoffs, in these playoffs. And we feel it now more than ever because now you're presenting the Knicks in front of them. It's actually the win now mentality for Boston because their salary cap is way abused. Sobrang taas ng binabayaran ng Celtics just to pay the 5, Porzingis, White, Holiday, Tatum, and Brown. Combine their salaries, nasa 200 million ka na. 200 million for 5 players. And remember, the salary cap is 140 mil. They're already above the luxury tax. Tapos may ano pa yan may ang tawag doon, yung first and second something. We call it give me some time here. The aprons. Okay? So, nilagay ng NBA yon in order to give you higher taxes kapag mas malaki yung binabayaran mo sa players mo. And next year, they're projected to pay a tax of $280 million, which is even higher compared to the actual payroll that they have for their players. So to me, there's a big possibility that this Celtic score will be broken up by next year. That means that now is the absolute time for them to win. Hindi na pwede matalo yan. Kung hindi, we might be seeing a different type of Boston Celtics starting next year.
Sa madaling salita, walang forever. Pati sa NBA basketball. Masakit man sabihin, pero ganun talaga. Yun din ang isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit hindi binayaran ng Dallas si Luka. Kasi ganun din yung naging problema na masyadong malaki na over the luxury tax and all. Jalen Brunson, before we leave this topic, I just wanna give him his flowers, Migs. Kasi, di ba, nanalo siya ng Clutch Player of the Year.
Mali tayo pareho, di ba?
Oo nga Ant yung pinili ko, di ba? Tas Jokic ka. Ayun, pinakitaan tayo ni Jalen Brunson. Grabe. Game on the line, iwan ng bantay, Dagger 3, grabe.
Osar Thompson yun, di biro yun. So, kudos to him. But then again, Anton, now he's gonna face Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and if Drew Holiday comes back,
sana
good
nga
luck.
Bumalik Sana nga bumalik para makita natin yung best. Diba? We always want to see teams at full strength go against each other. And I want to see if Jalen Brunson can go at it against Drew Holiday? Because Drew Holiday, obviously, one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA.
I have some last numbers to present.
Okay.
Kaya hindi talaga ako convinced sa Knicks eh. Just basing from the regular season, Anton. 4 na beses nagdaro yung dalawang yan eh.
Okay.
It's 4-0. 4-0 Boston. And the point differential here, ladies and gentlemen, is plus 65 for the Celtics. Which means they have an average differential of 16 points against the Knicks. They win by an average of 16 points against New York. They also have made 84 three-pointers in those 4 games versus New York, which is an average of 21. That's 3 more compared to their season average, and the Celtics are already the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. So I don't know what it is about New York that makes the Celtics play even better. Does that also mean that New York doesn't play very well defensively, defending the perimeter against the Celtics? But these numbers just tell me that they have New York's number.
And that is why I said it is time for change. Kailangan na ni Karl Anthony Towns na baguhin yung laro niya, get his big butt in the paint and start dominating like Rudy Gobert did against the Lakers, because whatever he's doing right now, shooting from the outside, claiming that he's the best shooting big man ever, hindi gumagana. Prinesenta na po ni Mix Gomez yung mga statistics, yung mga records. Tom Thibodeau, baguhin mo na ang strategy mo dito sa second round or else wawalisin kayo ulit ng Celtics. Alright, that's a wrap for the East. When we continue our discussion, pag-uusapan naman namin ni Migs Gomez ang mga kaganapan sa Western Conference dito sa Pinoy Step Podcast.
Basketball is more than just the game. It's the culture, the players, and the stories behind every shot.
Anong pakiramdam na maglaro sa finals?
Paano nga ba talaga ang buhay ng isang pro player?
At anong mga kalokohan ang nangyayari sa dugout?
Lahat yan at marami pang iba pag-uusapan natin dito sa Basketboleros.
Kung mahal mo ang laro, mas lalo mong mamahalin ang podcast na to. Hosted by Ranidel de Ocampo and GB Labrador. Powered by the Arena Plus Sportsbook. Sama-sama sa arena.
You're still watching, listening to the Pinoy Step Podcast with me, Anton Rojas, and Migs Gomez riding shotgun. At eto na, Migs, pag-uusapan natin ang Western Conference, and I think we should start off with OKC versus Denver. Nagkaroon tayo ng konting debate dito sa ating show. You debated why SGA is the MVP. I gave my stance on why Nikola Jokic is the MVP or should be the MVP. Eto, naglalaban na ang ating mga teams, brother. Eto na.
Natin to.
Okay. Gusto ko marinig yung mga research mo dyan. Okay. Bakit mananalo ang OKC? Because I feel like you're picking them.
Yeah.
And I want to know by how much.
I'm taking them in 5 games.
Wow!
Yeah, man.
Wow!
I'm taking them in 5.
How
about you?
OKC, UFC, KFC.
OKC in 5, man.
Thunder in 5. Grabe. Okay. Why?
Okay, I saw a bit of similarity with the rest. Kasi, remember Memphis? Bugbog sila from the play-in.
Yeah.
And then, like, less than 48 hours later, they had to play OKC in game 1. And they lost by 50 points.
Ran out the gym.
And remember, Anton, we talked about the depth of the Nuggets here in this show.
Naiiyak na nga ako eh.
You had one statement when you were with Christian.
Yeah. What'd I say?
Wala si Westbrook.
Oh my God.
Sabi mo walang bench yung Nuggets.
Wala.
Totoo naman talaga yun eh.
Wala, pare.
He's the bench of the Nuggets. And you know, with this type of bench na, okay, may Westbrook ka, and then the other guy is Peyton Watson. That's it for Denver. Going up against Wiggins, Joe, Caruso, and Wallace of the Thunder, that's going to be hard for Denver if you ask me. And Denver's also coming off of a Game 7 against the Clippers, which was a convincing win, by the way.
Yeah.
What a win for Denver. Tambak versus the Clippers. But they only have 2 days of rest compared to the 9 of OKC. So I think there's a possibility na, you know, the strategy would just be run them to the ground. Pagurin mo itong Denver Nuggets. make sure, Jokic gets frustrated. I mean, you have Hartenstein, you have Chet Holmgren to possibly bother itong si Jokic. Charles Barkley also had an interesting take.
Barkley?
Yeah. Sabi niya, if I'm the coach of OKC or the opposing team to the Nuggets, I'll just let Jokic play as one-on-one. I will deny all passing lanes. So you eliminate the Jamal Murray factor, you eliminate Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, everybody else. Kahit mag-triple-double pa yun, mag-historic numbers pa yun si Jokic, kung siya lang naman yung tatalo sa amin against the very deep Oklahoma City Thunder, then, you take the odds for OKC. So ako, if you ask me, right now, it's really depth of the Thunder that would defeat the Nuggets.
Okay. That's what I'm worried about. But before I get to that and give my case on Denver, gusto ko lang muna magpasalamat kay Mr. James Harden. Nagpakita ka na naman sa playoffs. Playoff Harden in full effect. Game number 7. Disappearing act. Poof! Bye-bye.
Grabe,
Mag-shave ka na, pare. Kasi hindi na gumagana yung mga ginagawa mo. Oh my God. Game 7, right on time. Denver advances. At eto na yung tunay na bakbakan. OKC versus Denver. I'm really worried about the depth of Denver. Kasi nga, oh my God, si Russell Westbrook lang talaga yung bench. Alam mo, no cap yung sinabi ni Russell Westbrook na nung tinanong siya, ano ba role mo dito? Ano ba papel mo dito sa Denver? Sabi niya, I will come in and bleep up. Okay? Alam niyo na yun. Okay? I will bleep up. And it's a double-edged sword, man. Minsan, ang pangit ng ginagawa niya, nagkakalat. Pinapasa sa kalaban, pinapasa sa crowd. Yung tira niya tumatama sa side ng backboard.
Yeah.
Pero minsan naman, nakaka-shoot ng tres.
But I think
Back to back.
That's what they need
Nakakaagaw. Well, yun nga, kumbaga shot in the arm.
Yeah.
Yun yung pinoprovide ni Russell Westbrook. But you know what, Migs? I'm not worried about this. Okay?
Okay.
Kasi they've been doing it eh. They've been doing it. Oo, mabilis ang OKC. I think ang tanong dito is whether OKC will also shorten their rotation. Dahil hindi uupo yung mga yan eh. Hindi uupo si Jokic. Hindi uupo si Murray. So ano gagawin mo?
Yeah.
Uupo mo ba yung mga players mo sa OKC? I think that will be the chess match between the two coaches here in this matchup. But with regards to 5-5, best 5 ng Denver, best 5 ng OKC, I will pick Denver's
Denver
5 any day of the week, twice on Sunday. Pati yung 6-man, I will pick Russell Westbrook against any 6-man from OKC 7 days a week, twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
Even though he bleep up when he comes into the game.
I think this comes from your respect with the success of the Nuggets in the past years. Oo, di ba? Ganun yun eh. Kasi ito na yung naging core nila minus KCP. So, sige, maintindihan ko yung pinanggagalingan mo. That's why I would just bring in the argument again na this is the year of the Thunder rising. Ito yun eh. Ito na yung kanilang opportunity to tell everybody, tapos na yung Nuggets. It's our time. Come on, man. Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Caruso, Dort, Hartenstein. Oh, man. I think we could give them that respect as of this moment. Plus, they have their defense to bank on. I'm not sure if it appears on your social media algorithm, Anton, but I do see some defensive breakdowns for OKC. Grabe yung switching ability nila. Grabe yung defensive awareness nila amongst one another. And I think that's their biggest strength. Kasi mahihirapan yung Nuggets dito eh. Knowing that they have so many weapons to stop Murray and Jokic. Lalo na si Murray. Lalo na si Murray. They're gonna start with Lou Dort. Then you have Caruso off the bench and Kayson Wallace off the bench. Feeling ko mahihirapan talaga siya sa series na to.
And Christian Brown, gumagaling. We talked about this year being a big leap for Christian Brown, and he stood up to the beard in that first round series. So again,
he gotta stop SGA though. That's his new challenge right now.
Ibang usapan. Alam mo, itong playoffs na to, Migs, parang naiisip ko, is there going to be a changing of the guard?
Yeah.
Kasi kumbaga parang itong matchup nating dalawa sa mga teams na pinili natin, ikaw yung new generation, ako yung old guard. So is the old guard willing to vacate his seat to give way to the new generation. Ito, John Cena ba to? Your time is up, my time is now. O mag-heel turn ba? Di ba?
I cannot believe we have a WWE reference in this show.
Because that was the whole point when John Cena was on the come up. Your time is up, my time is now. But para sa Denver, hindi pa eh. Kumbaga, eto pa kami, okay? Yung Golden State nga, di ba? Ito, pag-uusapan natin in just a bit. Number 2 yung Houston, di ba? Di ba? Oras na namin. Teka muna. Relax lang kayo mga bata.
Yeah.
2-3 years from now, sige, liga nyo na to. Pero kami muna, andito pa kami. So, relax lang. So, I feel like ganito din yung mangyayari sa Denver. I think Denver is gonna prove na sila pa rin yung mga kuya. And I will stand by my prediction. Kasi, remember, we have predictions here on the show.
Yeah.
Di ba?
Ito po yung papel.
May mga resibo ako. Yung kaibigan natin, yung prediction niya, wala na. Yung Lakers mo, Coach Christian, nangyari.
So, basically, yung prediction sa amin ni Anton, maglalaban na.
Yun. Ito magkakaalaman na sa second round. May sumali si Bartlett. Jordan Bartlett.
Sino pinili niya ulit?
Golden State.
Right.
Mr. I love how all of us have different choices for the West, but all of us are in agreement sa East na Boston.
Oh yeah. Kasi talaga it's hard to go up against the champions right now, especially with the way they're playing. For us to actually not be too concerned about the injury to Drew Holiday, that's a big statement about the Boston Celtics and how they play together. So, tingnan natin if we will be proven wrong by maybe even the New York Knicks of all teams.
Okay, before we leave this OKC and Denver discussion, Migs, ano yung isang bagay na feeling mo, because we've seen a lot of unexpected things here in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Para sa'yo, what's the one thing that, let's say, maybe worries you that might happen that could change the complexion of this series and favor a certain team?
The Denver OKC series?
Yeah.
You bring up a good point about the shortening of the rotation of OKC. I think if they do that, matatalo sila. Kasi they're gonna break their ways this year na ginagamit nila sina Wiggins, sina Isaiah Joe, Kayson Wallace, and Alex Caruso. Yun yung kumpiyansa din ng players all
so
together.
Kumbaga dapat stick to the game plan.
If you ask me, like if you ask me, use the 9 and then just instruct them, pagurin nyo. Yung Nuggets, yun yung strength natin eh. Dapat, ang goal nila is pahabain naman yung rotation ng Nuggets. Ganun siya. Kung papayag man yung Nuggets pero feeling ko hindi. Like they're gonna go down fighting with their 7 players.
Pag humahaba yung rotation ng Nuggets, napapahuyo ako sa TV eh.
Kilala ba si Jalen Pickett? I think if tumiklop sina Jalen Williams
yun
and Chet Holmgren, mafe-feel natin na man, parang naiwan si SGA. At siya pa lang yung ready.
Yun ang sasabihin ko sa'yo, pare. Kasi experience. Ako, I believe in experience. And when it comes to that aspect of the game, llamado talaga ang Denver. And nakita natin na sa Game 7, tumiklop yung mga bata ng Houston Rockets. And I feel like if there are players na titiklop who will wilt under the pressure, mas titiklop yung OKC kumpara sa Denver. Because Denver, as you have mentioned, proven na, nakapag-champion na. It's a matter of like yung hunger ng OKC and then yung experience and yung pagiging wise ng Denver. Wild card lang talaga yung Westbrook, but again, I'm still picking Denver in this series.
I mean, if tumiklop man yung dalawa, Anton, if hindi man tayo ma-convince kina Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, and SGA still finds a way to bring OKC to the conference finals, then look out, people. Then we might just be even more impressed with him. Ako nga, nasasayangan ako na meron ng NBA votes for the MVP. Kasi imagine mo kung yung voting would happen after the second round. After the series is done. I think that could persuade some voters to switch from Jokic to SGA or vice versa.
Yeah, and more so for SGA now because like they swept in the first round. At grabe yung linalaro ni SGA. We already talked about what he did in the regular season, but I feel like Migs na this is an opportunity for him to make that superstar turn, like a legit superstar turn. At iba na yung tingin ng tao kay SGA. They're gonna put him in a higher class, put him in that class with Jason Tatum right now, the ones that already won a championship, Nikola Jokic, if he defeats the Joker in this series. So I'm very excited. It's gonna be a very interesting episode next week dahil ano ulit yung sinabi mo? 5 games?
Yeah,
My
okay,
God,
5, man.
matatapos na kaya yun by next week. Anyway, subaybayan na lang na antabayan natin kung ano ang mangyayari. It's gonna be very exciting.
I just remembered one last thing.
Okay.
If OKC loses in this series versus Denver, I think the Giannis sweepstakes would become even more interesting. Because OKC has the assets to trade for Giannis. If they would be convinced that letting go of Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren would be worth it for Giannis, then man, SJ and Giannis for the Thunder.
Scary.
Look out, people. Look out.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Gusto ko pa pag-usapan pero let's save it for another episode. Maganda yan. Saan pupunta si Giannis or kung magsistay ba siya sa Milwaukee. Now, we get to the last matchup in the first round that just concluded right before, or actually during this recording that we are having right now. Golden State!
Yeah, boy!
Yes, sir! Pinauwi ang Houston Rockets, eliminating the number 2 seed. The old guard. The old guard won in this series.
Pero in-expect naman natin yun.
Actually, first quarter pa lang. Okay, I was watching the game before coming here. Steph Curry, grabe yung depensa sa kanya. Parang yung strategy ni Ime Udoka was let the others beat us. Anybody but Steph. And freaking Draymond Green. My God. 8 of the first 16 points of Golden State. Lolo Draymond! Pare, nabuhay! Nabuhay si Lolo Draymond. Tapos si Buddy Hield. Grabe.
Second quarter naman.
Grabe, nagpaulan ng tres. Kevon Looney was inserted in the game. Jonathan Kuminga was inserted in the game. Podzemski, he was doing his thing. The chef was not cooking, but the kitchen was.
Yes.
That's what happened in this game. Absent si chef.
Pinag-isipan ni Anton yun sa
Absent si chef.
sa maneho
Pero
niya.
buhay yung kusina. Grabe. Buhay yung kusina.
You thought about that while you were driving onto the podcast. But I give you credit for it. Man, to me, that was such a throwback moment because I remember Draymond had this 32-point game back then. Alam mo yun? I think that was game 7 eh. Or basta crucial game siya ng Warriors from before. And then of course, Buddy Hield erupting for 33 points with 9 3-pointers. It was like a Klay Thompson moment for the Warriors. And to me, syempre, lumaki ako na nakita napanood yung dynasty ng Warriors. So, na-appreciate ko yon na may ganung klaseng tulong na nakuha si Steph Curry, who still showed up in the second half. Huh? I mean, he only had 3 points in the first half, but he still finished with 20. So, decent numbers. Dapat lang, dahil lahat naman kami pinredict na pretenders ang Houston Rockets. I still give credit to Coach Ime Udoka because he found a way to make Steven Adams useful in this series and they forced a game 7. So, congratulations pa rin sa Houston.
Kahit hinahaka Adams na si Steven, talaga he stood by him. He's respect to Coach Ime Udoka. Grabe. But this Houston team, if Jalen Green, I think siya yung kumbaga, pag naging consistent, itong si Jalen Green, the Rockets can get over that hump.
Siya yung siya yung biggest pretender among the players. Kasi first year niya pa lang sa playoffs eh. 'Di ba? So everybody would also understand na ito learning ground niya, itong series na to. The 38-point game I think would help him out. Kasi at least napatunayan niya sa sarili niya na kaya gawin to. Diba? In the playoffs. So maybe in the next years for Jalen Green, dapat tayo din bias din tayo kay Jalen Green dahil kabayan natin yan. Pinoy din naman yan si Jalen Green.
Brother, ang tapang mo nga na tinawag mong biggest pretender sa Houston si Jalen Green.
Sa ngayon.
This is the Pinoy Step Podcast. But yeah, we dapat hindi tayo nagtatago. Parang si kaibigan natin na si Christian Luanzon redeeming himself. Talagang gustong ilabas yung footage ni Jordan sa mga reels natin. Okay, so now we move on to the team na makakalaban ng Golden State Warriors, ang Minnesota Timberwolves. And sige, isi-save ko na lang tong gusto kong sabihin. Let's break down this matchup first. Minnesota and Golden State. Again, eto na naman tayo. A team on the come-up and the old guard. Yun talaga yung tema ng playoffs na to eh. Who got next? And is the king of the court ready to pack it up, bring his ball home, and move on to the next chapter? Okay.
I think I'd give more benefit of the doubt to the guard here in this series compared to the OKC and Denver series. But round number 1, Minnesota was convincing to me. The way they dismantled the Los Angeles Lakers, man. That was very impressive. You have analysts in the NBA saying that the Ant-Man has arrived.
Yep.
Ano yun? Ant-Man, Batman, Superman.
Wolves in 5.
Wolves in 5. That's what happened versus the Lakers.
Naglakad pa sa LA. Isa lang yung bodyguard.
And, Anthony Edwards has had that mission last year, sending home his idol, Kevin Durant. He sent home Jokic.
Yun na nga eh.
Diba? He sent home Luka and LeBron. Why not send home Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry? At the start of the season, we all doubted Minnesota. I'm pretty sure you also felt na lugi yung Minnesota dun sa trade na yun.
Yeah, I did. I didn't like it. Sinabi ko nga dito sa show, I didn't like that trade at all. But now it's making sense.
It's making sense.
It's making sense now.
Grabe yung mobility nila with Randall and DiVincenzo. Mike Conley kasi tumatanda na rin yan eh. Diba? I think they're gonna need DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker in this series a lot to try to guard Steph Curry. And Jaden McDaniels, he played so well in round number 1 versus the Lakers. I hope he stays consistent. Kasi he also has to justify he has a big contract. He has a large contract in such a way that there is worry if Naz Reid will stay with Minnesota. Because Naz Reid is underpaid right now. Ang baba na kontrata niya, he's worth more than the 13 to 15 million that he's getting paid. Julius Randle is getting 30. Diba? And with what we're seeing, I think Naz Reid deserves more. So they're gonna have to find a way to make it work for them to stay, both of them to stay next year. But, with what they have right now, I think na-convince nila tayo enough in the first round to say that the Warriors might not be the clear favorites in this series as compared to how we favor them versus the Houston Rockets. What do you think?
Okay, I think it all boils down to whether Anthony Edwards can elevate himself to legit superstardom. Because if he folds under the pressure at makalusot itong mga thunders ng GSW, wala pa rin. Kailangan niya patunayan na superstar talaga siya. And I think nasimulan mo na. And dinoble team ako nung nakaraan. Dinoble team ako ni Christian at ni Jordan Bartlett nung nakaraan kasi naging usapan dito, is Anthony Edwards the face of the league? And they were like, no, he's not the face. He has to win a championship. Pero itong face of the league, Anthony Edwards, pinag-uusapan na yan. First Take, Stephen A. Smith, pinag-uusapan. And all the other shows as well. Sina Nick Wright, pinag-uusapan Anthony Edwards. There is a reason kung bakit pinag-uusapan na face of the NBA itong si Anthony Edwards. And that's okay even though he hasn't won a championship. Si Michael Jordan ba? Nag-champion ba? Nag-champion na ba? Nasa NBA na ba siya nung binigyan siya ng shoe deal? Unprecedented? No. Sometimes these things are based on potential. And based on potential, Anthony Edwards could be the face of the NBA. I mean, think about it. Nasimulan mo na nga, Migs. Last year, pinauwi niya si Idol KD. This year, pinauwi niya si Lolo Bron at si Senyor Luka, kung pinauwi niya si Tito Step at si Tito Jimmy,
At si
nako,
Lolo Draymond.
ibigay mo na, si Lolo Draymond, bigay mo na sa kanya yung face of the league. Okay? Pero may final boss, si Kuya Jason. Okay? Yun yung mga kailangan daanan.
Jason Tatum. So,
Si
tinrasis ko yun.
Yun yung mga kailangan daanan ni Anthony Edwards para maging Michael Jordan of this era. Dahil marami nga nagsasabi, isa pa yan, long lost son of Michael Jordan, si Anthony Edwards. So I feel like it all boils down to him, but I'm still picking the Warriors in this series because of experience.
Okay, I want to respond to the face of the league conversation first.
Sige.
Ako kasi...
Triple team pala to.
Sorry, Anton. Pero ako kasi nanggagani ako sa sa perspective na nagigets ko yung frustration ng, lalo na yung mga Amerikano. Kasi it's called National Basketball Association. So that means it's supposed to be a US-based league. And yet your superstars are not from the US. Di ba? You have SGA, you have Jokic, you have Giannis.
Yeah.
Sila na yan. And yet nobody's an American. So there's a bit of desperation into building up that next American. And Jason Tatum is not it. Ja Morant could have been it.
Ang sakit nun Jason Tatum is not it.
Jason Tatum is not it. You know why? Because he's boring.
Oh, wow.
He's boring.
Migs Gomez coming out guns blazing here on the show. Grabe
He's
ka.
boring.
Grabe ka, pare.
I say this though. I say that as a compliment. Because he's boring in the Tim Duncan sense. Di ba? Ganun si Jason Tatum eh. Hindi naman siya controversial eh. He makes his game do the talking for him. He's won a championship. He deserves the respect. Maybe down the line we'll start being nostalgic about Jason Tatum and how good he is. But did we ever appreciate Tim Duncan as well back then? Di ba? Hindi naman ganun eh. Kasi naburingan tayo sa kanya eh. So I think Jason Tatum is going through the same thing. Ant-Man on the other end, as much as he hasn't proven so much, he's the definition of box office. He's the definition of being a controversial star, which the NBA would benefit from right now. But to me, it might take him being traded first to a big market team in order to elevate to that type of status and prove himself on a more consistent basis. Kasi, we talk about Ant-Man mostly in the playoffs because of what he does for the Wolves in the playoffs. But in the regular season, there's like a huge chunk of time na hindi natin masyado na pag-uusapan yung Wolves eh. Because they're a small market team. Imagine if he's with New York, Golden State, the Lakers, even Chicago. That's a big market team. Diba? Pag lumipat si Ant-Man doon with that personality, sasabog ang mundo. Diba? Kasi so much media
Chicago,
will be
Ant-Man.
focused on him. And he will just blurt out his personality and make it even a better case for him to become the face of the league.
Right now, the only problem with Ant-Man is he said publicly that he does not want it. He does not want the face of the league. But you know what? I think he's capping. I think he's lying. I think deep inside, there is that Michael Jordan type of fire that he wants to take it.
Yeah.
And I think maganda yung naging exchange nila ni LeBron eh. Because LeBron knows it too. Diba? Sabi ni LeBron sa kanya, come on now, take that next step.
Yeah.
Sabi niya, I got you. I'm gonna hit you up. Now, I don't know kung ano sasabihin ni Lolo Bron sa kanya, but I hope it's good advice.
Remember that's what Tim Duncan told LeBron before? I don't know if you saw that
yun
footage.
ba yung thank you for giving it to me this year is gonna be your league in a while.
Yeah.
Yun ba yun?
Parang
I
ganun
like that. I love that. I love that.
May ganun ako nakuha from that exchange between LeBron and
He knows it eh. LeBron
passing
knows
of the
it.
torch.
Oo. Kaya lang if I'm Luka, Lolo Bron, ano yan?
Dapat ako yun. Luka, dumipensa ka muna.
Well, yes.
Yeah, man.
At magpakondisyon ka. Di ba? Medyo hinirita na siya ni JJ Redick sa exit interview. Hindi, not exit interview, but end of the season interview. Sabi niya, guys gotta get into better shape.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, he was referring to Luka.
So now, medyo nagigets na ng mga tao si Nico Harrison. Pero hindi. Hindi pa rin eh. Hindi pa rin eh. Come on, Nico. You don't get rid of Luka Doncic just like that. And the package you got was not enough, if you ask me. Okay. So, going back to where we were, having concluded our thoughts with the face of the league. I'm still going Golden State. I'm still going Golden State in a long series. I think it's gonna go maybe 7.
Wow. So
And
this,
I hope it goes 7.
so this is the series that you see going 7. Ako, ramdam ko talaga yung Knicks at yung Boston eh.
Haba yan. We haven't actually given our list no for the Pacers and Cavs. Ikaw ba? Anong prediction mo doon?
Oo nga pala, no? Ako, I'm gonna roll the dice
Okay.
and go with the Pacers.
Pacers?
Yeah.
This is with Garland. This is with Garland returning.
Feeling ko makakapuhunan yung yung Pacers. Ito, nakapuhunan na nga eh. Naka 1 game lead eh. I don't know, I just have a feeling like I don't know, maybe it's that maybe I'm a little bit older than you. So like mas napanood ko sina Pascal Siakam and they're a little bit older, right? So I don't know. I just feel like they have like top to bottom a little bit more experience as compared to Cleveland. Cleveland talaga, it's really just Spida. Kaya ako sinabi na can Spida be tinanong si Christian, can Spida be the best team on a championship squad, best player in a championship team, di ba? So ayun, I'm going with the Pacers.
I still trust in Darius Garland that when he returns, he can be a big time performer. I think kasi pag bumalik siya, mas may elevate din yung laro ni Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. And even Max Strus shot the ball terribly in game 1. Donovan Mitchell was also 1 out of 11 from 3. So I think Darius Garland would make things easier and would kind of normalize things. Them having the number 1 offense this season. I'm taking the Cavs in 7.
Wow.
Because I think that this series is really underrated. In a sense na the Pacers also have the tools and it's gonna be high octane. I think exciting to eh. Hindi lang talaga ganun kasikat yung mga franchise eh. and the superstars themselves. But I think the matchup is really interesting.
I haven't felt this excited about the Pacers since Reggie Miller and Jermaine O'Neal were on the team.
The Paul George era did not convince you.
No, I was not excited with that Paul George era. Okay, I was more a fan of Paul George when he went to OKC and teamed up with Russ and Melo. But you know, I like what you said about yung making his teammates better pag bumalik na si Darius Garland, because I feel like that's what Tyrese Halliburton is doing.
Yeah.
Kaya yung mga humihirit kay Hallie na overrated, guys, manahimik na kayo. Okay? Tyrese Halliburton is as good as advertised, and now that his dad is not going to be on the court, mas nakafocus na itong si Tyrese Halliburton, and I think he's going to elevate his teammates to greater heights. Pacers in 6.
Wow. Okay. We are
Nagbigay ka
in
ng prediction
disagreement.
7 eh. O sige, 6.
So we disagree with the Thunder and Nuggets and the Pacers and Cavs. Okay. Ito, last na tanong ko sa'yo. Naka-asterisk lang tong part of the conversation. Kung yung tatay mo ba inaway yung star player ng kalaban mo, ikaw ba sasabihin mo na mali siya on national television, Anton? I just want to get your take about that. How much do you love your dad?
Hindi ko sasabihin yon on national television. I might not even tell him he was wrong, but I feel like he would know it. So yeah, I love my dad very much. Pa, mahal kita. Hindi ko gagawin yon. Hindi kita ilalaglag. Hindi kita tataboy kahit kailan. Okay? Yun lang.
Yeah, I think that's one of the factors as to why he was suspended. Diba? Kasi yung anak mo mismo hindi convinced sa tama yung ginawa mo eh. Hindi ka wala pinagtanggol eh. Pero hindi naman dapat maging factor si Mr. Halliburton sa series na to. We're just saying it as
he's just passionate.
As mere fans. Okay, so we are in disagreement in 2 series.
It's gonna be very interesting next couple of weeks, my friend. All right, that wraps up our discussion here. We're very excited. Second round of the NBA playoffs. So drop your comments. You agree with us. If you don't, violent reactions are welcome. Come at us.
Yes.
We do not care. Okay? As long as you're tuned in here on the Pinoy Step Podcast.
Every champion has a story. And behind every success, there's a journey. Alam mo yung feeling na parang gusto mong sumuko pero lumalaban ka pa rin.
Dahil sa support system, sa passion, at syempre sa sariling determinasyon. Lahat tayo may kwento. And here, we share ours with you.
PB&J is all about the struggles, the wins, and the journey in between. PB&J, Peanut Butter and Jella. Brought to you by Arena Plus Network. Sama-sama sa arena.
Alright mga kababayan, kakatapos lamang po ng isa na namang mainit na usapan dito sa Pinoy Step Podcast. Migs, are you satisfied with all of the statements that you shared? This was the most daring Migs Gomez that I ever encountered.
Pili ko nasasanay lang tayo dito sa podcast.
This is a not so safe space.
We actually welcome your comments, guys.
Yan.
Kasi makakatulong din sa atin yun sa conversations natin. We wanna know your thoughts. You never know, baka nga mabring up pa namin yung thoughts ninyo dito sa podcast mismo, sa Pinoy Step Podcast. So,
si Christian pa lang yung nasusunog dito.
Kasi naman, Coach Chris.
Tsaka he went at the fans in the last episode. Sabi niya, mali kayo. As in, naka-shades pa.
Oo nga Nagulat din ako nun.
Akala ko si Shaq no? Si Shaq lang yung nagsha-shades habang nagpa-podcast
Okay lang yan. Bring out the personality, Coach Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. But not so sure about it also.
Okay, ito. Kasi since we're in topic, ikaw naman, what's your favorite Selly in the NBA, Migs Gomez? Ayan.
Ganun ako.
Simple lang. Steph Curry. Steph Curry.
It's also because of my faith. Pero, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I loved Steph Curry.
Yep. And why a lot of the Pinoys worldwide love Steph Curry as well. And with that, congratulations to Warriors Nation. Okay? Winning Game 7 against Houston. Eto na, Ant-Man versus the chef, the butler, and the entire kitchen of Golden State. We're very excited for the second round of the NBA playoffs. I'm so excited. Tinamaan na ng baba ko yung mic. And I think it's time to end the show. Kaya naman, Migs, brother, great to be working with you again.
Thank you.
And we will see each other down the road. Again, maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga patuloy na nanonood ng ating programa. This is the Pinoy Step Podcast. Again, brought to you by the Arena Plus Network. Sama-sama sa Arena.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Arena Plus Sportsbook, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.